Welcome to Everyday Life. Thank you for joining our podcast, Conversations Over Coffee. My name is Jen.
And I'm Dagda.
And we're going to hit you with the explicit content warning right off the bat. This podcast does include adult situations and adult language from time to time.
I'm an angel. I never fucking cuss.
Okay. Anyways, you ready to go?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go. All right, welcome back, everybody. So, hey, Bob, I was actually thinking.
No.
I know, it's not something that's supposed to happen, but it does. But I was actually thinking about great 80s movies today.
What are those?
Oh, my God. I know.
Anyway.
You know how much you can go fuck yourself sideways 10 days from Sunday, fucker. Anyways.
That wasn't an 80s movie.
What?
That wasn't an 80s movie.
Are you sure? Are you looking at all the genres?
No. That Go Fuck Yourself movie was definitely not made in the 80s.
That's right. It was made in like 78.
Anyway.
No, okay, so I know what your favorite movie is, which is Predator, correct?
Yep.
All right. So yours is Predator. Mine's obviously, I have two. They're tied. I can't decide between them. That's fine. But Predator's not an 80s movie. Isn't it like a 90s movie?
Yeah, I think it's early 90s. Prior to that, my favorite movie, prior to the original Predator movie coming out, was the original Terminator movie. That was my favorite movie of all time.
And, kids today are not going to understand the evolution of CGI unless they go back and start watching some of these like 60s, 70s, 80s movies. And then as we get into like the 90s, we're actually like early 90s, we're getting, more into better CGI and then to what it is now.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like even I caught a glimpse of like Bigfoot vlogs and it creeps me out. It really creeps me out because some of it's done really well.
Yeah. It's the uncanny valley effect. It's like something is not right with this, and it makes you feel weird.
Yeah, one of these things is not like the others. I mean, although the Hot Honey skits are hilarious, But anyways,
get off my cheeks.
Hey, so that's what I was thinking about today. I was just like, because my partner, for whatever reason, he watches a lot of 80s and early 90s movies.
Okay.
And that's fine, and that's fantastic and everything. I mean, obviously, I don't want to say when my favorite movie is definitely from, I know one of them's from like 82-ish, because it's A Christmas Story.
Okay, yeah, I love that movie. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was my favoriteest movie until I got a little bit older, and there was a movie that was out when I was a kid called Say Anything with John Cusack and Ione Skye. And so now I'm tied between the two. And, and it's not like a chick flick like some people think. I don't think it's a chick flick. It really is, as we've discussed before, to me, it's a story about a guy just like looking for home, looking for something greater than self.
Yeah. Well, I would think that most of the John Cusack movies that he was in, like in the 80s, were like more teenager.
Oh, 100%.
Stuff, not necessarily actually chick flicks. But just the name of it made me think it was a chick flick.
Right. Well, and that's what's funny because so here's the ironic thing about it. I hadn't seen the movie, but Peter Gabriel actually does the theme song or the main thing. And the song's called Say Anything. So I'd actually heard the song probably at least 15 years before I watched the movies ever. So it's just kind of interesting to me. And yeah, John Cusack did do a lot of John Cusack's in Weird Science.
Yeah.
Which,
who's Gary?
Our son, Gary.
Sorry. The female voice is not saying who's Gary. The male voice is, but whatever. Who's Gary? I don't know what you're talking about. I want you to shut the fuck up.
So, what's interesting about it is, John Cusack definitely. Oh, I wanted to grow up and marry him when I was a kid. But anyways.
Me too.
I bet you did. But he did like he is in a lot of those epic ADT movies. You know, like 16 Candles, Better Off Dead.
Oh yeah,
which is
I love that one.
I want my $2. This mountain is you know the street. Fucking what name of that guy who plays that character?
Who plays Booger?
He plays Booger in the Nerd series, but I can't remember his name. Curtis something, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm doing good that I remember who John Cusack's name is.
I know, fuck, right? Especially since you generally only watch Curtis Armstrong. That's the name of that guy. God, he's such a good actor. But yeah, when you look through all of these different movies that John Cusack's been at, I think most people, even though he was in 16 Candles and Better Off Dead before it, a lot of people would probably recognize him. Like, Gen Xers would probably more recognize him from Say Anything or as the older brother in Stand By Me, who dies in the war.
Oh, yeah.
But when you look through this guy's like fucking filmography, it's just amazing that he's been doing this. And this son of a bitch, he don't hardly age at all.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, we were talking about this earlier, like he doesn't, Frozen Ground was done in 2013. He played, of course, serial killer, duh, if I saw it. And then the most recent, I guess Hot Tub Time Machine was after that. Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
Yeah, that was great.
So I'm trying to look through his filmography now and see. I know I've seen a couple. Maybe it was Singularity I saw.
Did you ever see Grosse Pointe Blank?
I saw part of it once. It's not my preferred genre. See, to me, that's a chick flick.
What?
Yeah, isn't that odd? To me, that's kind of like a chick flick. I don't know.
Definitely not targeted at women.
I don't know.
I don't know what the fuck.
I don't know why, but when I saw that, I think it was because I think Minnie Driver's in that movie.
Okay.
And it's the way she's dressed, and I'm like, ugh. And there's all my apologies to Minnie Driver, but like she broke Matt Damon's heart, so I thought she was a twat. She's not, obviously. She's just Matt Damon. One of my favorite film series has Matt Damon in it, but my favorite of that film series has one of my favorite actors in it, which is Jeremy Renner. So, anyways, I want to kind of encourage people who like might be under the age of, I don't know, fucking millennial. So what would that be? Under the age of, they're not going to appreciate what we have now as far as technology and AI and all that if they don't go back and see what we had to deal with. Like, if they can't understand why their parents are so psycho about some things, go back, watch the movies we watched. I remember one of the horror movies that I watched when I was a kid. I remember seeing it as a kid, and then I remember seeing it as an adult, like after Terminator and all that shit and aliens and all that. And it was called The Hand, about this guy who loses he has his hands like a murderous, like he got a hand replacement. I don't know. It's called The Hand, I think. And it's about this guy, and this hand just murders people.
Wait, are you talking about Idle Hands with not Jessica Alba?
Oh no. Idle Hands, I think, was Skeet Ulrich and all that. I think that's that one. No. Idle Hands, I know which one you're talking about.
Where he gets a demon in his hand or something, he cuts it off, and it's running around trying to kill people and stuff.
That is a remake of an original from way back in like the 50s or 60s.
Okay.
And I don't know if people under the age of 30 would know what Nick at Night is. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know how long ago. It might still be going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't had cable in a very long time.
Yeah, I use just streaming because our local cable service is so. Just to get five basic channels to get like your Como, your Cairo, your whatever, your five CBS, ABC, NBC, and then Fox, and then what's the other one? It used to be locally called KISW. Now it's like the CW.
Okay.
Just to get those 5 channels and PBS is like $60, and because we've got the mega cable people, like my dad's cable bill was ridiculous until they put him on a senior plan. Like his cable internet bill altogether used to be like $300. I'm like, Jesus criminy. Yeah. But anyways, kids nowadays, it seems like they're not going to appreciate the technology, the advancements we have, unless they actually go back. 'Cause like I said, one of the first horror films I ever saw, it was called The Hand. And it was done somewhere between 55 and 65. Not that I was alive then, okay, but there was this thing called Nick at Night. And it was the first horror film that I remember Nick at Night playing. Because I was allowed to watch Nick at Night because it had stuff that was playing when I wasn't alive, like Gunsmoke, Star Trek, The Brady Bunch, all that kind of stuff would play on this Nick at Night when I'd stay at my grandma's house, at my grandma and grandpa's.
It's kind of like, it was almost like American movie classics, but for television shows instead of movies.
Yeah.
Effectively, it's that sort of programming.
And it's so crazy because, like, I don't know if the companies are still there because my understanding over the last 10 or 15 years, and I haven't had cable television for a very long time. I think I stopped. I think I've known you longer than I ever had cable television. I don't know. We got it. I remember we got it when I was a kid. My stepdad got it because of MTV. And we weren't allowed to watch a whole lot unless somebody was home. But anyways.
Same. Although we didn't have cable where I lived until I was in high school. Not too long, right around the same time that McDonald's came to the area. But anyway, we had, there was no cable because we were kind of not really in the sticks, but kind of in the sticks. And then when they actually installed it down our road, they were giving really good deals, in quotes. And so my grandparents were like, okay, fuck it, let's see what this cable stuff's all about.
Right.
And so we had it for whatever length of the time the contract was, like 3 months, 6 months, something like that. And we turned it off because we didn't watch TV enough to make it worth the while as opposed to the free stuff that we were always watching.
Yeah.
And then my grandfather bought one of those big satellite dishes, one of the super old school ones, one of the huge ones. It's like 10 feet across.
Yeah, the ones that you're like, please break down and let there be snow so I can slide down a hill on it. Yes.
Yeah, we got one of those, but just the dish. We didn't have any of the subscriptions or anything like that. You could still watch stuff, but you had to like turn the dish to the different satellites. It wasn't like the Dish Network where it's in a fixed position. It's just one satellite and it gets everything. So we had to program it to go to the different satellite and then hope that you got on the right spot. Yeah.
So fun fact. So this is a fun fact. Most people don't know this. I mean, some people will. You and I actually live in the same neighborhood. And the neighborhood we live in is the neighborhood I essentially grew up in. Even funner fact, if you go west 1 block, literally almost exactly 1 block, right? So that puts you mid next block, right? And then you go 2 blocks north, that's where I grew up. That's how close to where you live that I grew up. Now, from your house, if you go a half a block east and I think 1 block south, there's a house on the corner that has like dish. It has, you know what house I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So it has dish. When I was a kid, they were the first one in the entire neighborhood. And this is before I even went to the junior high school you live by. I'm sorry, middle school. Let me correct myself. Anyways, they were the first one that had an actual satellite dish there. And it was so big that they couldn't put it on the front of on the back of the house. They had to have it up front because their fence wasn't big enough. They ended up, because people tried to steal it within the first month, they ended up having to move it. And I don't remember how long it was before they went from the big giant satellite. I just remember that my sister and we were out riding bikes where we weren't supposed to be riding. And I remember seeing it but anyways, there. So I want to say it was at least 3 years that they had the huge satellite, and it moved from the front yard to the backyard to the front again. And then they went to dish. And so whatever. So yeah, and those things are huge. And I remember thinking, let us get a snow day. And what we're going to do if that thing falls over is we're going to push it over to the street you live on and push it down the hill.
Down that hill, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not like you have this slope, you have a hill.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it was very treacherous when I was a kid and very sketchy. Riding down that hill on our bikes, because 1, we weren't supposed to be riding there. We were supposed to be riding on our block only. And 2, you can hit the brakes all you want, but just skid on hills in rain, because we get a lot of rain. Yeah. Or sometimes we get a lot of rain. So, anyways, yeah, the kids today, man, they got to go back. They got to watch these 80s movies, these 70s, these 80s, early 90s movies to see how lucky they are, to see like how far we've come. Like they're never going to understand picking up a rotary phone and calling somebody.
Yeah, there was, I don't remember what comedian it was. They were on Conan.
Okay.
And this was a while ago, and they were talking about the old phones, the rotary phones, and like, this person has a 0 in their phone number. I'm not going to call them. That's too much hassle. But and just look up an image of a rotary phone and imagine that all those little holes in the little ring, you got to put your finger in there and then spin the ring.
Yeah.
And the farther the number is from the end point, the more work you got to do.
Yeah. And literally, depending on when the rotary phone was made, if you have to go from that 0 around, it might take 4 or 5 seconds to get back. So if you've got to do the area code 1, then the area code, then the number, by the time you get to that last number, especially if there's 1 or 2 zeros in it, you're pretty fucking mad. And then what's worse? What's the worst thing of all about the rotary phones and doing those long calls? I don't know if you know, dude, what's the absolute worst about it?
I mean, calling people when they're not even fucking home?
No, doing all that work to put the call out, and it's a fucking busy signal.
Yeah.
People do not understand what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who. I know somebody who is still kind of my circumference of life, and I was just like, fucking busy signal. Literally, they looked at me and they were like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, it's where the line's busy. What the fuck is that? I'm like, what do you mean, what the fuck is that? It's like when you call somebody and the call doesn't go through and you hear, and they had no clue what that was. And I'm just like, are you fucking serious? Well, and their thing is, I probably know, but I don't remember. I'm like, oh.
I mean, you still probably hear it if you're calling a small business.
You might, but anymore, everybody's got call waiting. Anymore, like if you go with the big like companies around here, even small businesses, it's very competitive rates between the big Uber cable company that also provides phone, internet, and cell service all for you. There's a huge gap between that and then local phone companies because they're barely fucking hanging on. It's like my mom told me today the reason why she got a second cell phone is because 1, she likes when that phone rings, it sounds like a telephone, an old-fashioned telephone ringing, and 2, she just opens it up and starts talking it like it's a flip phone, right?
Okay.
But it was, I think she said $36 a month difference between having they're called landlines. For anybody who's not sure what that is, it's where telephone plugs into your wall at home. Anyways, not in your pocket. And she said like $36 a month. I was like, holy crap. Now, I haven't had a landline for as long as I've had this number, which is a very long time. So, almost as long as I've had this number. And so I have no idea. Remember when the security companies, you had to have a landline? You don't have to have a landline anymore.
Yeah, I think the last time I had a landline, I was still in the Army. And even then, I didn't have that for very long because I had to have either a pager or a cell phone because the unit that I was in is a rapid deployment unit.
Yeah.
So basically, the minute the United States declares war on somebody, that unit is being sent there.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be there within 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to, if you were on one of the deployment schedules, because there were basically 3 different phases of when you would get activated. You were on 1 hour recall, or I think it was 72 hours recall.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the 2 that you would be worried about. The other one would effectively be on vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had to have either a cell phone or a pager.
Mm-hmm.
And I just opted to get a cell phone. And it was ridiculous.
You didn't have a pager?
No, I never had a pager.
Oh my God. The very first electronic device I got on my own as a, quote, legal adult was a pager. Because I was an apartment manager for like a year and a half. And I needed to
Dr. Jalen, paging Dr. Jalen.
Excuse me, you have to take care of your own rectum today.
Wow. And that was when she was an apartment manager.
But I had to have it because my grandfather was still alive. And I was, I was actually talking to my mom today about what there is people in my life who would say my one grandfather on my paternal side was not a great dude. Okay, like, look, I ain't gonna lie, he was a fucking racist, right? But when I told him, Grandpa, I don't like that, don't talk like that around me, he never did again. When I told him, because one of my best friends growing up was, she wasn't a quadroon, but she wasn't just half and half.
Okay.
She was mixed.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know, she was Indian and black and white. What is that? That's still not a quadroon, is it?
She might have been. It depends upon, because she might have been half black and then half white and.
No, she was half white. She was half white, and then her dad, my understanding from one of her siblings, her dad was Indian and black.
Okay, then she's like me. She would be a quadroon.
Quadroon. Yeah. So, well, anyways.
More Indian than I am, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was actually talking to my mom today about him. He was so. I was enamored with my dad's mom. My mom, and then her, and then both my grandpas were tied for my three favoriteest people on the entire fucking planet. When my grandma Frances was alive, I called her once or twice a week. I literally would just call her to tell her that I loved her and make sure she was okay. So when I was 16, we lost my grandma. I think I was sick. Was I 16 or was I 17? It was a rotten fucking year. I'll tell you that much right now. It was a rotten year. So we lost my grandma. And then after my grandma passed away, my grandfather called me every week of my life until he died. Every week, at least once a week. If he didn't hear from me every 2 days, he would call me. And it would always be the same thing. And I even somewhere, people aren't going to understand this either, but somewhere I have an answering machine tape with his very last message to me. Even though I can clearly hear his voice in my head, I can clearly smell my grandmother, I can hear him, all that. But he always identified himself. He would always say, he would call me by my full name, and he would say, not always. For a while, he called me by my full name. I'm like, Grandpa, you don't have to do that. So he'd call me, and I don't want to hear no fucking snickering out there about this, okay? And he would say, Jenny, it's your grandfather, first name, middle name, last name. Every time, even if I answered the phone.
That makes me think of Martin for some reason. It sounds like something.
Well, he does remind me of my paternal grandfather.
Oh, yeah.
I've told you that. I told Martin that. I was just just your whole military attitude reminds me of my grandfather. But it was interesting. But I was telling my mom today, I was just like, I understand that there are certain people in my family who are still alive who may have issue with him because of issues he dealt with. Mm-hmm. But for me, he was a fantastic fucking grandfather. And I think that, because we were talking about childhood trauma shit or whatever, which we could talk about that to the end of time. But I was not complaining. I was saying how difficult it is when I have somebody in my family who likes to try to tell me what a piece of shit my grandfather was, which I'm sorry he was a piece of shit around you. But to me, he was God, he was one of the best men in the world. Like I said, after my grandmother died, every week he called me, and I was telling my mom, I'm just it was, if he didn't hear from me, if I saw him on Saturday and I didn't talk to him Sunday or Monday, by Tuesday morning, 9 a.m., after he took care of the chickens in the gardens, he'd be calling me. And so it started out that way. And when I was under the age of 18, it was really hard because I didn't live independently. I didn't live at home with my mom, but I didn't live independently. I lived with my ex-husband and his family. And his people in his family are little cocksuckers, and we're just going to leave it at that. So it was a little bit harder. But once my ex-husband and I actually moved out and we were in our own place, I saw my grandfather every Wednesday and every Saturday. And sometimes it was every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. I saw my grandfather a lot. And we spent so much time with my grandfather when he passed away. And this is the best way I can say it. When my grandfather passed away, I thought I thought I was fucking inconsolable because he was at that point in my life. Him and my mom were my very best friends. You know, I mean, my ex-husband and I, obviously we got along ish, whatever. But my mom and my grandpa, my paternal grandpa, my very best friends on the entire planet. And he's gone. I thought I was inconsolable. My ex-husband, I thought he was going to stroke out and have a heart attack right there. He was so inconsolable. So I'm sorry that there are people in my family who thinks that my grandpa was this giant piece of shit. But my ex-husband, anybody in my life who knows him, would know that like that's very uncharacteristic of him. He's not an emotional guy, not like that. He's got like 3 modes, or he used to. I know it's different now, but he used to have angry, drunk, or high. That's what he had. And so when my grandpa passed away and everything, having that reaction, it absolutely 100% validated to me that my grandfather was truly the guy I thought he was. And he had problems. He was a POW. He was Japanese POW. He was at Iwo Jima. He actually used a fucking bulldozer to move bodies. So, anyways, that's not the subject I wanted to talk about today. Today I want to talk about fucking advances in fucking AI in 80s movies. So what I was trying to ask you half hour ago was, right, like, okay, just anybody listening or just now joining in or whatever, or overhearing this, which I hope they're overhearing. Because the further along we get in this, pretty soon we're not going to be addressing them at all. We're just going to be back to us.
I see you over there listening. Yeah, you. Yeah.
Okay, sip that tea a little bit slower. Right? Yeah, pretty soon they're going to be in true, absolute voyeuristic mode. And we're going to be just like at the shop, oblivious to them and just worried about us. Because, like, dude, if we don't fucking laugh every time we conversate, there's a problem.
I mean, everybody should be worried about me.
And your kung fu fighting? Is that what everybody's doing? I don't really know how many people are going to get the kung fu fighting reference. But anyways, so back to originally what I wanted to say. So if you could recommend any 3 movies from the 80s or early 90s to where people could actually see this really bad, like, animation and see, like, the CGI, the animation, the claymation, whatever, and see how far we've actually come so people understand why our generation is literally, we are so psychotic at times. I mean, we really did have to use our own imagination for most things.
Imagination.
You say that?
Muppet babies.
Muppet babies.
Muppet babies, we make our dreams come true. Anyway.
Yeah, I was more Fraggle Rock.
I never watched Fraggle Rock.
What's something fucking wrong with you, man?
Sure.
Did you ever watch the show Dinosaurs? Because that would be my first pick of somebody to watch something from the 80s and or early 90s. I wouldn't even go movie. I would go Dinosaurs.
I mean, they weren't that bad because it was suits.
It was that bad.
It wasn't like animation. It was more
live action. But okay, Muppets are puppets, right? So we know that these puppets, we know they're supposed to look a little different, okay? We've all seen Kermit and Miss Piggy, okay? But when it came to dinosaurs, the way when I was much younger, I was just like, when I actually saw dinosaurs, the very first season of Dinosaurs was really cool because it was like, oh, wow, these cartoon dinosaurs have come to life. This is great. After the first season, probably halfway through the second season, though, you start noticing how bad the vocals to the suit animatronic movements are. But I mean, still not the Mama's, just like iconic classic. Yeah. Okay, so what 3 movies would you say from that era would be a must-see, whether it was from shitty CGI, animation, claymation, or whatever? And I'm wondering, like, if we're going to have a similar answer or not on at least one of them. But that somebody could go back, watch, and then be like, oh, we've sort of come a long way.
So the first RoboCop movie.
Oh, God.
with Ed 209.
Okay.
Those are fucking horrible, and they were even then. But at the time, that was kind of on par with. Also, it's kind of a cheesy 80s movie.
Right.
So I don't think the original one, the remake, is very serious, but the original one, they weren't taking themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Even though they were like really popular movies.
Yeah.
And big budget. But the the scenes with Ed 209 specifically, and then also some of the scenes like when he's first getting turned into a cyborg and you see like his face and stuff.
Yeah.
Some of those are kind of so that one, the original Total Recall, because it has
That's a pretty good one. That's a good one.
The few CG scenes in there don't hold well. Some of them were terrible even at that time, but a bunch of them don't really hold up very well. Some of them are actually pretty good, like the dude's arm.
Yeah,
and the baby in the dude's stomach.
Yeah, I mean the part where he steps out of the lady suit.
Yeah,
is actually done really well.
And he takes off her face.
Well, no, her. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see that part. That was the actual woman just acting.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry,
actual,
ma'am. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so when she first starts wigging out, before he takes the head off, that's an actual person.
I feel bad that she actually, I thought, okay, I'm sorry, ma'am. Good job.
When the head comes off, though, that's entirely animated.
Okay.
You know, because it like splits open. And
yeah, that's such a cool sequence where the head splits open.
And then the part where he's taking the tracking beacon out of his nose.
Oh, that's so good. It's so cheesy, but it's so good.
Don't be a pussy.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, so those are two. The third one. So we got RoboCop and we got Total Recall.
And then the third one, I would have to say, this is actually more of a good. Both of those, the CG scenes that I'm talking about are terrible.
Right.
But the original Terminator, the CG was actually really good at the time.
Yeah.
How about 12 minutes before we close?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like amazing.
Right.
But most of the things are relatively simple. I mean, you see the Terminators walking around without skins, right? So those are animated. So those aren't actually too bad. But yeah, those would probably be the three. There's an earlier one. It's actually, I believe, the very first usage of CG in a movie. It's The Abyss. When you see the water creature, that is all computer generated animation. Yeah. And it looks pretty good. It's been forever since I've seen it, but it looks pretty good. But it's also something very simple and something that it would be difficult to sort of imagine anyway, because it's basically water. Is basically a big thing of water moving through the ship, through their submarine or whatever, and it's like reaching out tendrils and touching people and stuff.
Yeah.
And so probably the closest to something like that would be like the Odo character in Deep Space Nine. He had scenes because he was a liquid.
He was a shapeshifter.
Yeah. So he had scenes like that, and that was like several decades later.
And not to scroll too much, but Renee Auberjonois as Odo, fantastic. Such a good actor. The actor's name is Renee Auberjonois. Auberjonois or something like that. But I know his first name is Renee, and he's so good at facial expressions and everything. Anyways.
Yeah.
So you would choose The Abyss, RoboCop, and Total Recall.
Yeah.
See, and I think that's a good list of movies to show both the CGI back then. It's not what it is today. It's not what digital entertainment is today, but it's a good way of showing there's some scenes done really well and other scenes it's like, what the hell is this? You know, it is what it is. Because
I will say another one that was pretty good at the time. I don't know because I haven't watched any of them in a very, very long time. But the show Babylon 5.
Okay, I've never seen it.
That show was the first television show that it was primarily done with CG. As far as all of the space station is all CG.
Yeah.
And everything out in space is CG. Everything that is inside, like all the characters.
Yeah.
Those are all like makeup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Suits or whatever.
And now they do motion capture.
Yeah. And the spoiler alert, I guess. one of the species that you see in the show,
Mm-hmm.
at first you see them, they're wearing a suit. When they actually show them for the first time outside of the suit,
Mm-hmm.
that's a bunch of CG.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice. Oh shit! I just looked at the time, dude. We are out of it. Maybe we should pick this conversation up next go round. What do you think?
Yep.
All right, let's hit him with the outro. Thank you, thank you. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by.
Later.
Okay, everybody, that's all the time we have for today. So I want to thank you for stopping by to enjoy the conversation. We're glad you're here, and please share and share again and share some more. And if you haven't already, subscribe. We'll be having another chat and another cup soon. We'll talk to you then. Look forward to seeing you.